Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. I have such a fun project to do today. It's a big project. I don't know if I'm going to finish, but I want to start chipping away at it, and that is working in this area right here behind me, just next to my dry creek bed. So as I'm sure most of you know, I work very closely with Proven Winners, a plant company that I have loved since I started gardening. I always contribute it to me becoming obsessed with gardening based on the Petunia Vista bubblegum. That is like the easiest plant to grow, and once you have success with that beautiful flower, it's almost like you're hooked. And so I've always loved Proven Winners, and it's been a dream of mine to work with them. And one of the cool things about Proven Winners, one of the many cool things, is that every year they put out this gardener's idea book. It is a highly anticipated little book that has tons of inspiration in it for different things that you can do in your garden using Proven Winners plants. This book was actually 2 years ago, and I was featured in it, and I almost framed this and put it in my home because I was so proud to be in the gardener's idea book. It was so much fun. So 2 years later, they contacted me and asked if I could do a project for this upcoming next year's Gardener's Idea book. And I, of course, jumped and I said, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So the Gardener's Idea book is really interesting in that sometimes they will show projects that gardeners have already done. And that's 2 years ago. That was my garden. I had already planted that garden, and then they wanted to show it. And sometimes they plan out things so that they can get different ideas to gardeners, because of course we don't want all of our gardens looking exactly the same. We don't want a monoculture. We don't want like all the same layout like a cookie cutter garden. And so it's kind of fun for them to kind of say, oh, here are the different options that you can have in your garden using plants, and they can still look beautiful. And so that's kind of what they've done with me. We've decided on this area right here to plant it up using a garden that actually features rocks. So as you can see right here, I have my new dry creek bed. We just installed this a couple months ago. A dry creek bed is an area of your garden that a lot of dry climates will use as kind of a water collection site. So for instance, when it does rain in the rainy season, we get a lot of rain. We get a ton of rain in the rainy season and then not a lot of rain during the summer. We're now in our dry period where we really won't get any rain until Halloween, I would say. And so when we do have rain during the winter, it's a lot. It's a lot of rain. And what would happen is if we had a garden that was like maybe all lawn, or maybe didn't have good drainage areas or anything like that, what would happen is all the water would run off and run into the drainage ditches and be taken away from our property, which is just about the worst thing you can do. Plus, we're on a well here, so I really want the water to stay here on my property, 100%. I want it to stay in my water table. So having a dry creek bed is very beautiful, but it's also very, very functional. It is something that I really love, and even this past year, we installed it, I think probably in February. I could see when we had rain, I could see all the water draining into the dry creek bed, pooling there, and then slowly percolating down into the ground, which is exactly what I want because the water stayed here and it didn't run off into the street. So having a dry creek bed is super helpful, but there are other uses of rocks or gravel that really help retain water as well. Using rocks as mulch is really, really helpful. That is something that a lot of people do. You know, it's often seen in super arid, like desert-like climates. And so it's just a really good option that I think Proven Winners is trying to open people's mind to see that, like, yeah, it's a little different. It's not one big lawn that I'm planting around. It's some rocks that I'm planting around, but it's something that is helpful for my climate, and it is something that can actually be really beautiful. So when they asked me if I wanted to create a garden to feature my rock bed, my dry creek bed, I said 100% absolutely. So we decided on kind of this view over here where you can see the dry creek bed in the foreground, and then you can see the weeping Atlas cedar in the background. And then this whole area in front is where I'm going to feature plants that can handle low water usage, which is kind of what a dry creek bed is for anyway. And so low water usage, drought tolerant plants. I know you've heard that a million times. Oh, drought tolerant plants. But really it's low water usage is what I'm talking about. You don't have to water these plants incredibly just to make sure that they they barely survive. So one thing I always talk about in my Best for the West presentations when I go around to different garden centers is I talk about plant adaptations that plants have. Oh, that's a loud truck. Sorry about that. I talk about plant adaptations that these plants have to be able to tolerate the heat stress that comes with plants. So heat stress happens with all plant material at 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which is crazy because we hit 86 degrees Fahrenheit in May and then it just goes up from there basically. So if I was to plant plants that their response to heat stress was to wilt, which is a very common reaction to heat, like a lot of hydrangeas will automatically wilt, and that's a way that they can protect their root system, then my garden isn't going to look good for most of the year because they're not going to be able to handle the temperatures that we have here. But if I choose plants like Luscious Lantana, this is Royal Cosmo, or Ladybird Sunglow Calliophis, which actually they changed the name on this one to Superlophus Sunglow. So I got to start calling it, it's the same plant. I got to start calling it something different. But it's this beautiful Texas primrose. You guys know how much I love this plant. Lemon coral sedum. It's part of my Best for the West. This is part of my Best for the West collection as well. It's just a lovely, lovely pop of chartreuse that I enjoy having in my garden so much. And then one that should be in my Best for the West collection, which is Whirlwind Blue Scaevola, which is another plant that just does so fabulous with low water usage. So these are some of the annuals that I'm going to be featuring in this garden, along with some grasses. We have, this one is Prairie Winds Brushstrokes. It's just a really, really pretty grass. And of course, grasses don't need as much water as other types of shrubs or plants. I had to include some mangave. This is a new mangave. It's going to be huge, you guys. This one is Aztec King. This one doesn't have a Aztec King. It's absolutely huge. I'll put the stats on the screen right now, but it's just a really, really great plant that can handle low water and it can handle more water. So if you want to put it with other plants that need more water, it can handle it. It's definitely structural. It definitely has that desert look to it. But I think if you plant it with other soft plants like the Whirlwind Blue Scaevola, it could look really, really pretty. And then last but not least, I have a totem pole panicum, which I thought would just give some really beautiful height right here in this area. So I thought it would just be fun for you guys to see me like there's a reason why I'm planting these plants here. It is for a picture for the Gardener's Idea book. Hopefully, it's not a guarantee. Like say something happens and they all fail, then obviously I won't be in the Gardener's Idea book, but at least we can try with the goal of showing off what you can do working around rocks. And there's going to be other installations around rocks and gravel as well. So make sure you sign up for the Gardener's Idea book. I'll put a link to it in the description down below so that you guys can be sent it in the late winter, early spring, because it's so fun to get and so fun to see what Proven Winners has featured. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean up this area and I'm going to lay out these plants, and I feel like it's going to take me twice as long because this whole project has a purpose to it. Usually I just plant with the idea of like, oh, I can move it, it's no big deal, but this is kind of a big deal for me. So it's probably going to take me longer than most of my other projects, and I have a lot of plants here. But like I said, I at least want to get started today. Okay, let me give you guys a little bit closer look at what I have right now, what I'm actually going to be pulling out. First of all, I have a couple purple fountain grass that are just starting to wake up. I transplanted them from the zigzag planter last fall when I planted my totem pole panicums in the zigzag planter, which are starting to grow and starting to look good. And I transplanted these here, and I'm just going to pull those, which is not a big deal. I was just trying to save them. I could plant them somewhere else, but I think I'm just going to pull them because they are so cheap here. They're like $10 for a giant one. So I think I'll just pull those. I'm also going to pull some of this California native grass here. I was planning to do kind of like a meadow area right here, along with the meadow that I'm going to have over there eventually. But I'm going to pull it for now, and I can get more of these. I actually have a bunch of this seed. So I will be seeding a little meadow over in that area over the leach field, but we got to get a delivery of compost first. Then I have all of these bulbs here, which are actually, well, I don't know what they are. They're either snowflakes or snowdrops. I cannot remember, and I planted both of them. So they're one of those, and I think I'm just going to pull them. I actually didn't really like having them here. The flowers were so small, it kind of just looked like foliage during the winter, and I think I would rather plant daffodils in the area. So I think I'm just, instead of just cutting them back, I'm just going to pull them, which is fine. So I'm going to pull all of those. This whole area is going to be blank. I will leave the Spanish lavender right there. I will leave, like, this is a rudbeckia, I'll leave. This is some verbena, I'll leave. And then of course all of this, jeez, man, there's loud trucks today. I will leave all of this stuff that I did plant over here. So I think that the camera will only get kind of in this area, the shot that we're planting. So I think that that's the area that I will be focusing on and planting these particular plants that they could feature. I also have some more mangave that I planted over here. And unfortunately, this one was an old one that I had in a pot for a while, and it's got its bloom stop coming up. But I have all these other ones, like the bad hair day right here. This one's night owl. This one's tooth fairy. This one's lavender lady, I think is what you call it. So I have all of these, and then I wanted to underplant these with some sweet alyssum. I thought that that would be really pretty. And this might be in the shot. It might not. I'm not totally sure. But the weeping atlas cedar will definitely be in the shot, and these rocks right here will definitely be in the shot. So anyway, so that's what I'm working with. I'm going to start my cleanup, and then I will start laying out the plants and trying to find the right positioning for them where I can feature each one without it looking like a garden center. Like, I want it to look like an installation, basically. I've got all of the plants laid out, I think, where I want it. I got all the grasses and the bulbs pulled and cleaned up a little bit, and I'm pretty excited about this project. This is definitely different for me because I am focusing on one vista, one viewpoint, which I know a lot of gardeners like to plant like that. They focus on one vista and then they work on that. I don't really do that. I will go stand over there and I'll stand over there and I'll kind of walk around and decide how I want it. So it might not always look as good in pictures, but in person it looks really, really good. And I actually will have people say that my garden looks completely different in person than it does in pictures. Being that I am on YouTube, I probably should do more of the vista planting, you know, like looking at it from one standpoint, but you know, you can't help what type of gardener you are. But this is kind of fun. It's kind of stretching myself to plant in a different way and to lay plants out in a different way. So I'm having fun, and I'm really excited about the Gardener's Idea book and the opportunity to possibly be in it again. So this is super fun. This is a neat thing for me to do, and to me, it's super interesting. So let me show you guys what I have all laid out, and it starts out with this totem pole grass right there that's going to get about 6 feet tall by the time they come and take pictures for the idea book. I think it's going to get even taller than the Weeping Atlas cedar. So I think that should be a really interesting center point, which is like point of focus, which is why I wanted it right there. And then on either side, I flanked it with the Prairie Winds brush strokes, which are going to get about 3 feet tall. And that's going to be a nice step down from the 6 foot tall grass to a 3 foot tall grass. I think that'll look really pretty on either side. Then right underneath that, I planted the luscious Royal Cosmo Lantana. And I've actually planted this plant before at my last garden, and you can't see it right now because they're not blooming just yet, but they are very pink. So this garden bed is going to feel very like me with the whirlwind blue scaevola, the lemon coral sedum, and the pink of the lantana. So I'm excited for that. It's going to get, again, it's going to get 26 inches tall, so about 2 feet tall. So another really nice step down from the grasses. Then we have the whirlwind blue scaevola, which is definitely shorter. Let me find my card for that. Here we go. Gets up to about 14 inches tall. I think that will be really pretty, especially underplanted these giant mangave, the Aztec King mangave right there. I think that that'll look really, really pretty. And then it goes into the, I want to say Ladybird Sunglow Calliophis, but it's not that anymore. It's the Superlophis Sunglow. I don't know why they changed the name on us, but I got to start calling it something different. These guys they're like a ground cover, like the lemon coral sedum. And so you can kind of see mine over there. They're not tall at all. The Sweet Romance Lavender is even taller than it, but it'll be a really nice base layer along with the lemon coral sedum. And I'm hoping that it kind of like borders the dry creek bed, and the rocks will kind of come on top of it. And I will adjust the rocks as everything starts to grow in and everything. So I think it should be really interesting and really fun. I did add some plantings over here on this other side just so that it doesn't look weird, like there's nothing over here and there's tons of stuff over here, because of course I still have to live here in this garden. But this garden bed is of course for a couple of pictures, and so this was my main focus. So anyway, I think it looks good. I am going to be using starter fertilizer and a slow release fertilizer in all these holes. I am going to be fertilizing this like crazy because I want it to grow really big very quickly. It's up to me when we decide to take pictures, when I think everything will look really good. And I'm gonna say my guess is probably late June or July is when things will start looking good, but I'll just kind of have to watch it and see where the grasses are at and everything like that. But isn't this fun? Isn't this a fun kind of planting day? Just kind of a little bit different. And I wanted to bring you guys along with this whole process of the Gardener's Idea Book. Again, there's no guarantee that this garden bed is going to be in it, but this is what they do. They have ideas. They get volunteers for who wants to, try and plant out that idea or already has that idea in their garden. And then they make a final decision on what actually ends up in the book. So I'm not 100% expecting to be in the book, but I am definitely crossing my fingers, and I hope that this garden bed makes it in. I wanted to say, if you guys see this giant right there, that structure behind me, that is actually a well drill. My neighbors they've been building this well house for so long, and they're drilling another well, and so that's what that giant thing is behind. Courtney's here today working, and she drove in and went, "What is that?" And it's been here for about a week, off and on for about a week. So if you see that in the background, it's just my neighbor drilling a well. So anyway, let's get to planting. right, so here's the progress that I've made thus far. This is quite a lot of plants. Oh my goodness. And when you see it kind of go uphill, that's really easy soil to plant in because that's all compost that we've added to the area. But down here and right along the dry creek bed, there's no soil. I mean, it's all my native soil, which is pretty tough. It's hard to get through with my auger. So it's kind of slow going, but I'm happy with how it's turning out. I think it looks really pretty. If you guys can tell, my favorite thing is I kind of have a grouping of the lemon coral sedum here, and then it breaks, and then it swings back up, breaks, and then a big grouping there. I think that that's going to look really pretty once everything grows in. Now, my goal for this area is to show no soil. I really want these plants to completely cover so that we don't see soil at all. If they don't grow enough, I think what I'll do is I'll take Michael Glassman's recommendation, which is to get not gravel, but rocks. He has it in his yard. And basically you border all the pathways and all the driveways with kind of like a ground cover of rocks, and it basically just softens the edges. So I think that that's what I'll do. If this doesn't grow in quick enough over the season, I'll kind of have to watch and see. And that's only on the edge. As you get back into the middle, then you just use regular mulch. So probably back there by the totem pole panicum and the weeping atlas, it'll be just wood chips and everything. But I'm excited to see how it's taking shape. I need to go get some water. My mouth is incredibly dry and I'm hungry. So I'm going to take a bit of a break. It will probably be like an hour, but it's going to feel like a second for you guys. So I will be right back. All right, an hour later, I feel rejuvenated. I got water and, of course, a cup of coffee. Let's get back to planting. Monty, you sat right in the middle of the frame. You silly dog. Okay, I'm done planting on this side of the dry creek bed. I haven't even started on this side. Well, I did. I tried to use my auger to dig a hole right there, and it just kind of was like, it just stopped. And so I'm going to wait for Jason to do the hard part over here. But this part looks really good, and I wanted to show you guys this. I'm watering everything in, and this little spot right here, this is so hydrophobic. Look at what happens when I water it. The wind from the stream of water is making it blow away. Isn't that the craziest thing? What is up with this soil right here? I have no idea. It is definitely not happy though. This is crazy. Isn't that interesting? All right, so I'm gonna keep watering these plants in really, really well. I want them to grow and thrive as much as possible and put as much growth on before whenever we decide to do the photo shoot. I just thought it would be really fun for you guys to see kind of behind the scenes and why I was planting this garden bed right here, because it would be, it's going to be a little bit different than the rest of my garden beds, which I think is kind of fun. It's kind of a difference. It gives me something to like super focus on this year. So I'm excited to see the progress of it and to see if I even get in the gardener's idea book. So hopefully everybody cross your fingers for me. We'll see how it does. This soil is just the weirdest. I do not know what's going on. So hydrophobic means doesn't like water. And sometimes if your soil is so dry, it's like almost impossible to soak it with water because it almost repels water. And that seems to be what's happening. But then I see some type of like mold or something maybe that was growing on the wood chips, or I don't know. I'm not totally sure what's going on. If anyone's ever seen that, let me know. But anyway, I will keep being out here, and then hopefully Jason can get that done. Yeah, because I'm tired and I don't want to use the auger anymore. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.